Hey everyone, my name is Mike Vaughn. I'm a writer at Geek Vibes Nation, and I'm also the author of The Ultimate Guide to Strange Cinema.
And I'm Dillon Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director of geekvibesnation.com and also a co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast.
And welcome to a new Video Addict new release roundup. As always, we have a ton of great titles, but before we get into that, I'm really excited because thanks to Universal, we have a pretty awesome giveaway. It is the Munsters on Blu Ray. And as you can see, it is brand spanking new.
Nice.
And it is very easy to win. All you need to do is be a U.S. Resident and just comment below and say what title that we talked about that you are most looking forward to. So all you need to do is comment to win, and this could be yours. And
so easy.
Yeah, and so I'm going to be talking about this in my own review, but this does have some nice features, and again, very easy to win. So
yeah.
Again, just comment what title we talk about that you are most excited for, and you could bring this home to your crypt.
And we have a lot of great titles to talk about today. Shall I jump right in?
Dive right in.
Okay, this is like eagerly anticipated from the slasher fans. This is I Know What You Did Last Summer, 25th anniversary release from Sony. And I know I talk about Sony a lot on here because we love them, but they have been giving us so many great 4K upgrades. Look, there's even alternate artwork underneath, which is pretty cool. The original classic artwork. And this one is no different. This is a 4K restoration from the original camera negative in Dolby Vision, and it looks so good. I had the old 2-pack with the first two movies from Sony, which didn't look super great, but then it's like a night and day difference between these two discs. So the 4K, it looks really great. It has really deep black levels, which I really appreciate in like a horror movie because there's a lot of shadowy dark sequences and you can actually see a lot of fine detail. And it also comes with a Dolby Atmos audio track along with the original 5.1 audio track, which is really great. So you have for audio purists, you have the original track, or you have a more expansive, all-encompassing Atmos track, which is really great. They also don't skimp on the special features because there's a new selection of like 6 deleted scenes and an alternate ending that haven't been released before on physical media, as well as a conversation with the director. I won't spoil who it is, but for those who haven't seen the movie, there is a interview with the person who plays the perpetrator in this movie, and there's also intrigue. Unless you just look at the list of extras, and then you'll know who's the killer. And then also like a selection of old features on the old Blu Ray, like different like featurettes and an audio commentary track and all that jazz. It's really great. So it had been a while since I had watched this movie, and I will start right out. Like Kevin Williamson doing horror again. This is not quite Scream. This isn't, I guess, even close to Scream level because Scream's like an all-time classic. But this one is a lot of like cheesy, it's a not a good movie, but it's a fun movie. It's just like seeing like these 4 beautiful young people get themselves into this predicament where they hit a person late at night and then they try to just dispose of the body and pretend like it didn't happen, and then their sins come back to haunt them. And the sins come in the form of like a guy and like a fisherman's like slick and like a fisherman like fish hook, which of course it's a classic like iconic horror weapon, which is a lot of fun. So that's like the basic premise. You're not going to get much more from like the plot. It's just them trying to figure out their situation, but just being able to just like see them make all these bad decisions, yell at the screen, being like, what are you doing? Why are you making these decisions? It's that type of like dumb horror, which I like. If I'm in the right mood, it like really hits the spot. And like there's not as much like as many like classic lines, like I said, as the Scream, but there's a lot of fun within this one, and I'm glad that this was given the treatment that it has been given. I think we'll be talking about one of the Scream sequels in the upcoming weeks. That's a tease. But as far as Kevin Williamson writing, like he does a good job here. It's a fun movie. It's like a like late '90s fun slasher. Are you a fan of this movie?
Oh yeah, so fun fact, this did you ever read the book that this is based on?
I feel like I did. I know I read another book from the author calling Killing Mr. Griffith in school randomly, but I think I also read this.
Yeah, so apparently the author was not very happy with the adaptation, but I like it. I think this and Urban Legend are my favorite post Scream sort of neo slashers. And I actually ended up just splurging to get this release because I was so excited. So it's awesome to I haven't had had a chance to watch it yet, so I'm really happy that it does have a really nice transfer. So that is definitely a, I think, must pick up. And I have not really horror, more definitely more sci-fi, but one release that I've been very excited for, and that is The War of the Worlds and When Worlds Collide.
Yay!
And my Rocky Horror fans will definitely know When Worlds Collide from the intro song. But yeah, I'll spare you my singing. And plus, it'll be so realistic, we'll get like a copyright claim probably.
Yeah. Maybe we can put it like at the very end for people who stay to the very end. They can just see you belting it out.
Yeah, I mean it's like earplugs. This is of course Paramount Presents, and gosh, look at how awesome this package is. So let's get another better look at the extras, and there is a lot. And of course we have the little gatefold here. And so now there is a digital copy that's just not in there, and this is what the inside looks like. And let me just pop the discs out really carefully so you can see all of the inside. Nice. And yeah, I had to say, gosh, this was such a treat to it's funny, I thought for sure I had seen The War of the Worlds before, but turns out I had not. I'd only just seen clips of it. So this was a first time watch for me, and this is of course out of the two releases, this is the 4K release. And yeah, it looks fantastic, but I'll get into that in a little bit. Of course, this is sort of based. This is actually based on a pretty classic H.G. Wells, I guess, novel or maybe short story. Not quite sure which. But anyways, it's considered like kind of top tier 50s sci-fi, and it like actually sitting down and watching it, I can definitely understand why. I really love when these Norman Rockwell small towns get invaded. And of course, the movie was made during the height of the Cold War scare. So we tended to see a lot of the others creeping into like wholesome middle America and slowly kind of corrupting. So this is very much kind of in the vein of like The Thing from Another World, where it attempts to give you a serious spin on like what would happen if aliens did invade. It turns out all hell would break loose, which is probably accurate. Yeah. The special effects are pretty groundbreaking for the time, and honestly, I think they hold up for the most part. The sound design of the aliens is really stunning, and I think it helps really sell the menace, but also kind of add to the atmosphere. And it's really an impressive movie for only 85 minutes. So there's like no filler, all killer here. It's great. And it looks really fantastic. So I, of course, know that Criterion just put this out, but it's the Criterion wasn't like 4K. It was just a 4K
No, it
scan.
was 2 years ago, and it's here. I just pulled it off the shelf,
Mm,
and this comes from a 4K digital restoration, but it's just a Blu-ray. So I'm sure
okay.
it's the same restoration, but now in actual 4K instead of this Criterion Blu-ray.
Yeah, and I gotta say, it looks really fantastic. It's probably as pristine as it's ever gonna look. Again, I really wasn't able to sort of compare, but just seeing how everything really looks nice and clean. There is just a little bit of debris, but honestly, it's a 70-ish-year-old movie, so there's going to be a little bit of tiny bit of wear and tear, but like honestly, it's kind of jaw-dropping just how they were really able to like fine tune this where it again looks very clear. It doesn't look oversaturated. It has a nice warm look to it. Like skin tones look very nice and natural. There's like some like close-ups on faces where you don't get a lot of like distortion or blurring. Everything just looks really nice, crisp, clean. It's really impressed. The second feature is one that I had definitely never seen, and that's When Worlds Collide. And so my husband's a big sci-fi fan, so we decided to watch it the other evening. And what was kind of cool was the night we watched this, unbeknownst to us, NASA had actually exploded an asteroid successfully,
Whoa, that's
um,
cool.
which is kind of weird because this whole thing is about like again a very grounded, realistic, like hard sci-fi. What if there was some like a planet barreling towards our own? Um, so it was really neat. I think like obviously some of it's dated, but this was 1951. It was interesting because when they were talking about going to another planet, they were like, preposterous. This will never happen. And of course, in the 60s, that's exactly what we did. But yeah, it's a great movie. It did have a couple like it had I won't spoil it, but it has a twist at the end where we were both like, wow, that's kind of awesome they did that. And there's no aliens, there's no robots. This is a very much like a human drama kind of wrapped in like again like hard pulpy sci-fi. So whether or not that might be an interest to somebody, you really have to like gauge what kind of sci-fi that you like. If it's just more of the fantastical, you might not enjoy When Worlds Collide. You might like the other feature, War of the Worlds, better. But I liked it both equally. I thought they kind of make a pretty amazing double feature, and I love how they're packaged here. Again, when Worlds Collide isn't perfect looking, it's in a little bit rougher shape, but again, considering this is a movie from 1951, colors look great. Again, not undersaturated or oversaturated. Everything looks very vibrant. Yeah, it's not like an incredibly visually stunning and colorful movie, but I mean it does look really nice. So great package, really nice array of features for When Worlds Collide. It took me a while to get through them all, but it was kind of a blast doing it. So I think it's very much worth picking up.
Awesome. Yeah, I've seen War of the Worlds several times, including I reviewed the Criterion Blu-ray for GVN. But I've never seen When Worlds Collide. So between the upgrade for War of the Worlds and like the new Blu-ray debut of When Worlds Collide, I'll have to definitely check that out. I'm going to continue the 4K love. This is kind of building off one. I think it was last week you talked about the Lost Boys on 4K. So I'm going to do another Joel Schumacher joint, also new to 4K, and that is
Mm.
Flatliners. from Arrow Video, which I love this packaging. You can kind of see how shiny it is. And so yeah, you get this nice slip cover, and for those who order it fairly early into the run of the disc, and then I think this has double-sided artwork, so I will show that off. Got everyone here, and this is his follow-up to The Lost Boys, and he reteams with Kiefer Sutherland on this one, and brings on stars like Kevin Bacon, Julia Roberts, one of the bald ones, I can't remember which one, and Oliver Platt. So they come on board. I don't want to crease my artwork, so I will slow down this show so I do not mess up anything. I think obsessive collectors will understand. So here's the interior. And also you have this nice booklet. So here's the back, and got pictures and an essay. It's really nice. So yeah, once again, Joel Schumacher following up Lost Boys. This one, Flatliners, it's an interesting movie. It's my first time. I actually just finished watching this about like 20 minutes before this recording. And this was made in 1990, and it involves like a group of medical students who, one of which is led by Kiefer Sutherland, who has this he has a fascination with the afterlife and wants to like really understand like if they can kind of prove what happens after you die. So his idea is to like get like flatline himself, which is like get himself to a point of death medically, and like be technically dead for a couple of minutes before being brought back to life by his like medical school like friends, so they can like report back with like if they remember anything or what they experienced, all that. And this actually starts to work. It's kind of like they're able to successfully bring him back the first time they try it, and they start going through like each of them like to try to do this themselves and like push themselves a little bit longer. But the thing is, whenever they are brought back, they're kind of bringing back kind of, I don't know how exactly to explain it. It's almost like kind of bringing back their past like traumas with them, but like manifested in real life. So it's like you may be going to the afterlife, but you're kind of bringing something horrific back with you that's kind of going to haunt you. And it's not just like visions. Like there are things that can actually like physically manifest and like attack you and stuff. So it's kind of like creepy. It's not the most supremely creepy movie I've ever seen, but it's a very kind of like eerie like thriller that I think is really well done, especially because it's directed by Joel Schumacher, who is like has a flair for the flamboyant, and just like you see something, you're like, this is beautiful, but why is this like this? Like there's a scene, the whole like institution seems like it's like the campus seems like it's set in like an art museum, and like you see people dissecting bodies with like it looks like famous paintings around them and stuff, and you're like, what is going on? Why are they in this darkened room with like classic art around them, and they're dissecting bodies? And you're just like, it's visually very striking, and it goes along with like the gothic imagery that they're trying to like conjure up. But you're just like, this is, if you start to think about it, you're like, this isn't probably super realistic, but you appreciate Joel Schumacher's like aesthetic style, that he wanted to put like something unique into this, and then it does make it an interesting like visual treat. The performances are really fun, like I said, like with like Kevin Bacon and Julia Roberts, and Kiefer Sutherland. Like you're in good hands of just like no one's like super overdoing it. They're kind of keeping it like in the pocket of just where you want that kind of like, it's like not taking itself ultra seriously. Like there's some levity to it, but then they're also not being complete goofballs, and there's like actual dramatic impact to what they're doing. And like it's pretty well paced for it. Like there's a lot of like human moments that are backing up that kind of these terrors. It's not something like I don't know why this movie jumps to my head, but like something like 13 Ghosts, where you're just going through like character by character, just seeing like someone being like picked off or something like that. It's not quite that. It's more like the lingering specter of your past following you, which is, it kind of creates a sense of dread instead of just like straight up horror and terror and what. But I think it's a really strong movie. I really liked it, and I'm glad I finally got to see this in 4K. Because it has been remastered from the original camera negative in 4K. It's presented in Dolby Vision. And the color palette, like I said, especially with Joel Schumacher, and also shot by Jan de Bont, who did Speed and the Haunting remake. He transitioned to directing, but he's the cinematographer on this, who approved the color grading, and he also has an interview on this disc as well. It has really like rich, luscious colors that are really nice in Dolby Vision. And like the dark, deep black levels look really nice. It's just a really nice transfer. DTS 5.1 sound, which sounds really nice, and like a really nice host of special features. Is a audio commentary from some film historians, and there's like several interviews that range usually between 10 to 20 minutes with a lot of the craft people, including the screenwriter, the cinematographer, the first assistant director, the production designer, composer, and I think there's even another crafts person that I'm missing. There's like a lot of great interviews on this, which Arrow really exceeds at. So if you're a fan of this film, or you're like haven't seen it but you're looking for like a nice thriller that's not gonna like it's kind of safe for scaredy cats, like my wife who just watched it with me, like she made it through. Flatliners, it's a good release from Arrow Video. I think they did a really nice job with it.
Yeah, I just remember this was definitely the era of Julia Roberts, because I won't give anything away, but her like transgression is like not even really like a transgression or anything. Like everybody else's is kind of like did something
Yeah.
various degrees of shitty, and hers, I don't even remember what it is, so but I won't spoil it anyways, but like I just remember it was like, oh yeah, she didn't really do anything wrong because she's Julia Roberts, and you gotta maintain that image of her, which I thought was a little bit of a cop out, but I liked it.
Yeah, because the Baldwin transgression was a major transgression.
Yeah, like prison time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one I did unfortunately remember because it stuck with me. But
Yeah.
a little bit of a lighter affair, and I know this was a little controversial, and that is Rob Zombie's The Munsters. And first off, let's check this out. And again, you can win this. So there's the back. This has a hour-long making of, which is such a treat, and a feature commentary with Rob Zombie. So we'll check this out. Here is the inside, no reversible cover, but that is what the disc looks like. Yeah, so I think this is really fun. I was like really fortunate because I did get to talk to a couple of the cast members, and if y'all want to check that out, I can and put that link in the description. And I do actually have like a pretty formal longer review, so I can also, if you want my like long-winded dissection of this, I'll link that in the description as well. But just to say, I really enjoyed Rob Zombie's take on the Munsters, which is a joyous, spooky celebration of the original 60s TV series. The cast is great, of course. You know, Dan Roebuck is a lot of fun as the Count. He was really fun to talk to. Also, I just want to say, the struggle was real, because I don't, and you know this as well as I do, you only have like X amount of time for an interview sometimes. And Dan brought up working with Dennis Hopper in River's Edge. And I was like, oh man, I wanted to talk about that so bad, but you kind of have to keep it moving. So knock on wood, I hope I can talk to him again a little bit more in depth about that. But just to say, he is really fun in this. I also got to talk to Jeff Daniel Phillips, who plays Herman, and again brings his sort of A game to this project. visually it's really incredible. Like the art design is just over the top, and they kind of explain that they went so big because they needed the characters that kind of look like cartoons to like fit into this world, so they made everything so like grandiose and talk about like being extra like Schumacher, like this is
Yeah.
kind of like that. So yeah, it's really fun. I enjoyed it a lot. I will say it is a little bit overly long. And again, I go into a little bit more detail on that in my review, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you are a big fan of the series, there's a ton of Easter eggs and references. Uncle Gilman is in this, and I got really excited. Zombo, who also is played by Jeff, in like a little dual role. So are you familiar with the show?
Yes, it's been a while. It was more like a fixture of my childhood, so I would need to revisit it. I keep hoping with Kino revisiting a lot of like the classic series like Kolchak and Night Gallery that like the Munsters is on the way. That would be
Yeah.
great. But I used to love the Munsters.
Oh yeah, it's pretty great. Like like yeah, the only original cast member I got to meet was Eddie, who played Eddie Munster, Butch
Mhm.
Patrick. He was super nice, and I have a really good anecdote about meeting him, but it's probably like something I'd have to like say off camera. But
Uh,
anyways, it's not that scandalous, but anyways, but yeah, it's a good movie. You also just like stop complaining about it and just check it out. And I think it's a nice primer for the series. If you haven't seen it, I think it kind of leads right into the original series really well. Because again, this is a prequel. This is like before like they have a kid. This is like when they first get to like California. So it's like a pretty great prequel. So check it out.
that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
good for Rob Zombie, just doing what he wants to do, just like
Yeah.
make his own vision.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's his own thing, but he does bring a lot of what's so fun and campy about the series.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, I thought you were like grabbing something.
Oh.
Yeah, my next title, I'm heading to the world of television, and that is Mayor of Kingstown season 1. And yes, this I've talked about Yellowstone and like 1883 and all these other titles over the past few months from the mind of Taylor Sheridan, and this is another from, but it's not in the Yellowstone universe. I'll just say that. Well, I guess technically it could be, but it's not like directly in the Yellowstone universe. You have one disc over here and 2 stacked discs over here. I don't love stacked disc, but it is what it is. So yeah, this is aired on Paramount Plus. Stars Jeremy Renner, my beloved Kyle Chandler, Diane Wiest, and a lot of other great actors. This one, it's if you're familiar with Taylor Sheridan, like who did like Hell or High Water and Sicario and Wind River, it's all kind of like in that kind of style that he kind of like Americana, kind of like blue collar, and but like kind of like assessing like the American dream and like what is America type stuff. And this kind of goes kind of even darker. Like he can go pretty dark in some of his movies, and I think this was written by his, if I'm not mistaken, like co-creator with or like co-writer of Wind River, because they reteamed with Jeremy Renner, who starred in that movie as well. But this kind of is set in Michigan, and it's like a family, 2 of which like Jeremy Renner and his Kyle Chandler, he plays kind of the titular mayor of Kingstown. He's not the legit mayor, but he's kind of like the known presence in the city that kind of runs things and can make things happen. Like he's like it's like a title that's given to him, the mayor of Kingstown. And his brother, played by Jeremy Renner, is kind of he's an ex-con. he is kind of like morally conflicted, but he helps out his brother on a lot of things and like trying to make the city run as well as can be. But also, this series delves a lot into like the corruption that's on pretty much all levels. And it really deals a lot with like kind of the prison industrial complex and how uh, people are treated like within the prison complex, like the corrupt guards, all the dangerous activities happening in prison, all the people who want to keep people in prison to like profit off them, all that type of stuff. And then there's a lot of crime outside the prison as well. So it's just like a really hotbed of crime throughout this whole city. And it's kind of dealing with those complexities. And then like they have a younger brother who is like a policeman who's kind of on the other side of things. So there's like push and pull within the family. There are different beliefs on like people deluding themselves into thinking they're doing good when they are like obviously committing crimes, and just all that type of like layered human nuance with like morality and all that. It's really interesting. I think Taylor Sheridan does a really good job. It can be a tough watch at times. There are like there's a lot of imagery that you're just like, ooh, like there are certain like things on like HBO or Showtime dramas where you're just like, ooh, that's a real tough image, but you can do pretty much anything you want. So go nuts. But the acting's really strong here. The plotting, I think it gets better as the season goes along, as like narrative threads start coming together, and like the series really starts firing on all cylinders. And this was recently renewed for a season 2, so this will be returning. Hopefully, I'll be talking about this sometime next year for season 2. But this is a really entertaining show, and I'm glad Paramount is giving it a Blu Ray release. It comes with it's just like Yellowstone. It comes with a ton of special features. I think each episode's given like a brief behind the scene featurette. There's like a making of and several other brief featurettes. There's like a featurette with a cast talking about their favorite scenes from the season. It's pretty packed. So I know we always appreciate when companies go to that effort to like give a lot of like context to these shows. So Mayor of Kingstown, if you're a fan of like the Taylor Sheridan universe, it's fun. It's much different from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but like it's the Americana universe.
Yeah. Would you say that if I'm not familiar with those other shows, would this be a good, say, introduction
It's
to?
completely standalone. So yeah, you can just jump right in. If you're just like interested in like a pretty potent crime drama, or like, yeah, I would say crime drama, I think this is like a really good entry point just to his world. But definitely check out his films if you haven't yet, because all 3 that I mentioned, Sicario, Hell or High Water, and Wind River, I all think are really amazing.
Nice. I'll definitely will check that out. And going from one kind of show to another, I have The White Lotus. I say season 1 because there will be a season 2 very shortly, and I am very excited.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just check this out. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is just DVD for now.
Yeah, no Blu-ray, unfortunately.
Well, and I guess beggars can't be choosers, but maybe someday we'll get a Blu-ray. But I really love this series, so I can't complain. This was a series that was on my radar ever since the trailer dropped, and my husband and I would watch it weekly, and it basically just confirmed how that like hype was sort of justified. The writing is top notch, and it's a really brilliant mix of funny, surreal, and at times very beautiful and profound. I think that's a really tricky balance to pull off, but the showrunners really managed to really bring all that stuff together in a way that feels coherent. Outside of the amazing writing, it has a great cast. Jennifer Coolidge, who just rightly just won an Emmy for this, like steals the show. Everybody's great in this. That is just such a stacked cast. It's one of those shows like it maybe takes you a little while to really get like into it. I think like it had a good start, but like really it doesn't pick up until a couple episodes in, and then you're really invested in the characters. Have you seen this?
Yes, I love this show, and I've actually already written the DVD review for the site for anyone who's interested in reading about it as well. But yeah, I binged through the show with Jessica, and we both really loved it. And
Mm,
I'm so glad to see Mike White and all, like this couple of the cast members win Emmys. They was
yeah.
such a great show.
Yeah, again, it's such a hard balance when you're like blending a lot of like these sort of like again as I say, like the surreal, the funny, the heartbreaking. Like there are some really, especially with like Jennifer Coolidge's character, is a lot of moments that like just really get you, but it's so
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. Yeah, it's one of the better shows that I watched from last year, and I, like you said, I'm sad that it's not getting a Blu-ray release, but I've just been so worried about like HBO pulling all their stuff up of HBO Max unexpectedly that I'm like, I need to be able to watch White Lotus
Yeah.
whenever I want to. So I will take it any form I can get.
Hold on to it very closely. Yeah, it's great. I'm pretty excited that it's coming back for a second season, and I guess it's like some of the same cast is still in it. Like I
I
know.
Yeah, I think it's an anthology format, but I think Jennifer Coolidge is returning, but I think it's mostly new characters, from what I understand.
Yeah, and it's
That's
like
my
going to be like a different resort. So I love that. I feel like that could really go to very varied places. So
Mhm,
check it out.
absolutely. Hopefully, we'll be talking about that next year as well. Moving on, this is a release that's pretty exciting, I would say, because Kino Classics, just for, I know I'm long winded a lot of times, but Kino Classics recently over the summer struck a deal with Paramount, and we've been getting a lot of like awesome releases from that, like that are starting to gear up, especially in the next few weeks. But one of their early ones is the Rainmaker, which Burt Lancaster and Katharine Hepburn. And uh, the reason I was like, yes, the movie's really good, but I like that this probably wouldn't have gotten a release for a while, but Paramount provided Kino with a 6K scan of the 35 millimeter
Wow.
VistaVision print, or the original negative actually. And I know that 6K sounds like crazy, and it is, but like they've done it before on some of their Paramount Presents titles. Like I believe they did it like The Court Jester, maybe.
Oh yeah.
But Paramount, like they have so much on their plate. I'm glad that they could farm this out to Kino Classics, and like they do not drop the ball at all. This is a great presentation. It looks like set like it's been meticulously restored and like cleaned up. Like the contrast levels are amazing. And it's just a really really nice presentation. The sound is like really great too. It's a DTS 2.0 soundtrack, and they also, as Kino does, which actually is sometimes more than Paramount does on some of their titles, they provide a commentary track which gives a lot of context. So kudos to Kino for doing that for us. The film itself, I was really entertained by it. It's kind of like it's an interesting romance in which Burt Lancaster, he plays a kind of a con man. He is like going around from town to town, trying to sell contraptions that he say will bring the rain. And like for some of these farmers who are like living in droughts, he's just trying to like kind of fleece them and like get some of their money and like go, and like he kind of has the law on his tail because people are kind of getting hip to what he's doing, until he goes to this one town. They're like they've been in a long drought. The town's kind of dying because of it. But at the same time, like you get to know some of these people in the town, including Katharine Hepburn, who she has played this kind of role in like similar films, especially with, like Spencer Tracy. But she plays like kind of a woman who is, she doesn't have a lot of romantic prospects. Like she kind of like has low self-esteem. She thinks that no one wants to be with her. There's like a town sheriff who I can't who plays him. Wendell Corey, who I really like. I've talked about
Oh
him a lot.
yeah.
He's been in a lot of great movies. he's kind of nursing his own heartbreak. So there's kind of like these two would be perfect for one another if they could just both get past some of their baggage. And then in comes Burt Lancaster as like kind of the salesman who's wanting to uh like sell to this family, like Katharine Hepburn's family, but also starts to have kind of like interest in Katharine Hepburn and kind of like a romance. And it's kind of like a love triangle, but also like there's that element of like deceit that like lurks, and he's actually turning into a better person by knowing her, and it's like la da da da. I really like how this kind of like unfolds and evolves. It's just a touch over 2 hours long, but it doesn't really feel it. It really moves at a nice pace. And it's a real, if you're a classic film fan, I think this one's like a really strong recommendation for me, because like Katharine Hepburn, you can't really go wrong with her, but she does a really good job with this. And like the direction, just the pure visual spectacle of this is really strong. So I have a feeling this may not have been completely on your radar, but I think you would especially love this.
Yeah.
It's strong recommendation for me.
Yeah, that was definitely one. It was a so last couple months it has been a tough choice of classic titles.
Yeah.
So this one I might have to pick up sometime. They have like a ton of great sales and stuff. I'll have to keep that on my radar.
Yeah.
So I am doing another TV show. This one is quite hefty, but that is the Aqua Teen Hunger Force complete collection, 20 disc. And here is the back. And I love this show. I was trying to write my review, and it's kind of difficult because it almost is like sometimes a stream of consciousness in animation form. Like you really just have some really bizarre, if not downright absurd and surreal stuff. We still in our household like will find ourselves quoting like episodes like MC Pee Pants.
Yeah.
Like then there's like the epic like their Thanksgiving episode with the was it the robot turkeys?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just wild weird stuff like that. I love it. It's again I kind of was hoping for like a Blu-ray, but just having it all together is so nice. So let me show you the inside. So we got a little booklet inside here, and it's nice because it will give you like everything like episode wise and disc wise. So it keeps it really nice and like organized. You have like the special features there. So you just have to be really careful with these. They're kind of not my favorite, but like just take extra care. Like so
Yeah.
the inside and back there. Yeah, so just be really careful. Like the last time I feel like I just demonstrated one of these, a disc flew out. So
Yeah.
which I think was like Wonder Woman or Supergirl or something. So
Supergirl.
it
Yeah.
was pretty appropriate for it to fly out, but
Yeah.
um yeah, so again, not a big fan of that formatting, but I do like that more than you were talking about, like the stack discs. I
Yeah.
liked it better than that, so there's that. So yeah, this gives you an idea of the packaging. Like I said, just be super careful with it, but you should be good. Just don't like toss it around or anything. But yeah, it's a fun show. I was doing a little research, and I was thinking this was Adult Swim's longest running original show, and I believe that was the case. It might not be anymore, but it used to be. Yeah, it's great. It's just so weird. It's so wonderful. Um, if you are in the mood for something kind of like weird and wild, like this isn't really like serial like you don't really like need to, you can watch this out of order. It's not like, there definitely are recurring characters and stuff, but it's not like in a serial format where you have to kind of keep up with all that. So yeah, check it out. If you have been wanting to check it out, like this is a really nice like disc. I think even like animation just the one like DVD looks really nice, like up converted. So the animation looks really great. It's nice and crisp and clear. Again, I have HBO Max, but I would much rather own it, especially how they've been with their animation.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah, so we were, like it kind of brings back to what we were talking about, having wanting to like own something just in case, and this is kind of a prime example. Like I think that this is a really fun show. And again, they give you more than just the show, like they give you some more like bang for your buck. So honestly, I think it's like definitely worth it. And yeah, it's pretty great. It's again, it's such a wonderfully weird show. It's one of those that if you're kind of in the mood for something weird or strange, there you go.
Yeah, I love that show so much. It's been a favorite since I was like a young teenager. And looking over, I think I've collected the first 7 or so volumes of this, but I still feel like I should get this because I never got the movie and like a lot of like whenever it changed formats, like there's a lot of stuff here. Also, pro tip, one addition to the holiday season that my wife and I have really appreciated. There is an Aqua Teen Hunger Force Christmas album that's on Spotify.
Nice.
Add it to your rotation. It's a lot of fun. We've been rocking it the past couple of years. It's pretty
Nice.
great.
That's great. Wow, I did not know that was a thing, but now I will definitely be checking that out.
It's demented and great. I love it. Continuing with my Kino Classics love, this is a 1934 pre-code musical comedy drama, Murder at the Vanities. And this one, it's interesting. Like I didn't know a lot about it beforehand, but I'm like a child. I am delighted by colorful covers, so I'm just like, ooh, we should check that out. And I'm glad I did. This was a fun one. This one stars Kitty Carlisle, Victor McLaglen, Carl Brisson, and a lot of people. There's even an appearance by Duke Ellington and his band in this. So a lot of classic like icons of early like golden age cinema. This one is basically it takes place at like the backstage of like a review like musical type show, and like the plot concerns Kitty Carlisle plays like a lead like performer who they learn that there is like a plot on her life that is pretty much being investigated in real time as like a show is going on for like an audience. So there's like a lot of backstage intrigue and like cops coming in and out and different people finding people like dead. And so it's a murder mystery, but there's like a light comedic element throughout. And then there's also some musical numbers throughout. So there's a lot of different genres that like blend really well. And since we are kind of in like a new boom of like murder mysteries with like all the Rian Johnson movies, and then we just had like See How They Run just came out a couple weeks ago in theaters. It's just like murder mystery, like going wild. So it was fun to go back to like an early like pre-code murder mystery where it's like nothing, it's still like the early 1930s, so it's not going to be anything too shocking, but there are some like pretty like things that wouldn't have went like would have flew in the Hays Code era that get included in this that are a lot of fun. So this one was a real treat. This is from a brand new 2K master. It looks really nice. There are still different little nicks and scratches here and there, but it looks really nice. Like the color contrast, or not the color, the black and white contrast, and the saturation levels are really nice. There's not too much like in the way of like black crush or anything in like the shadows, And it just looks really good. There's an audio commentary from film historian Anthony Slide, and then an array of trailers as Kino does. So you can always usually count on them to have a or a commentary track, at least to kind of. There's just very few. There are a couple, but like they always usually provide a commentary track for extra context, which is always especially fun for like pre-code films because you get a lot of juicy details from
Yeah.
film historians then. So Murder at the Vanities, it's a good time. I think you'd like this. Another one that I think just the fact that people watch this is insane. I think this is mostly just an excuse for us to just talk about things that we think each other would like every week.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I mean, it sounds pretty great. Like you had me at old murder mystery. I love, well, like give me a good like cozy mystery like any day, but like
yeah,
especially like the old school ones. Love it.
absolutely. Yeah, add it to your list.
My ever growing.
Yes.
So I am pretty excited to talk about this one actually. And it's a controversial one kind of. And that is, oh shit, I dropped it. So I guess it's not there anymore. Hudson Hawk. And
Yes.
this is quite a ride. Have you seen this?
No, I feel this is your episode to talk about controversial movies between this and the Munsters. Yeah.
Well, so okay, so a little bit of background's probably like in order for this. I don't think there's, oh yeah, there is, sorry, there is reversible cover art.
I'm glad you looked. Wouldn't want to go without.
Which, yeah, that's a good one. I like that. I might actually like switch that over. But yeah, so this is Bruce Willis's only screenwriting credit. Um and watching it, you can probably see why. Like Bruce Willis actually famously pretty much disowned this movie. And some kind of credit it with nearly bankrupting Sony.
Wow.
So yeah, it's was a pretty notorious flop. But it's definitely gone into find a cult audience. This actually was released not too long ago from Mill Creek. But you should know that Mill Creek is bare bones. So this actually does have some really nice features. And I did double check my copy, my other copy of this, and there's like nothing on it. So I also believe it is the same transfer that was
Yeah.
maybe sourced out.
Yeah, I will say since we're not talking about any Mill Creek titles on this episode, so they shouldn't be watching. But I would just say it's probably better encoded on the Kino disc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like full disclosure, I didn't have time to actually kind of compare my Mill Creek with this, but yeah, it's probably a lot better. And again, if you're not completely sold from that standpoint, I mean, again, the commentary is a hoot, and it's I'll just say like the making of this is almost more enjoyable than the movie. But having said that, I think it's fun. I think it is like almost like a cartoon. Like it is basically it's a like heist movie, but then you get a little bit of National Treasure mixed in with the Da Vinci Code. But you have to realize this was like before both of those IPs. So was it ahead of its time? Well, maybe. But yeah, totally it's a mess. The writing is really bad, but I will say if it fits in that sweet spot of so over the top that it's kind of fun and amazing. Like Sandra Bernhardt, I love her, and she is so unhinged in this movie.
Nice.
Um, which yeah, like that right there, worth the price of admission. And like the dialogue is so bizarre. And again, it's so funny because like Bruce Willis wrote this, but he's delivering his lines in such a weird, almost like alien kind of way. But again, it's so bizarre that it's just fun to watch. And I think I'm definitely not the only one, because this got like two releases in not too long of a time period. So yeah, it's a fun one. It looks really great. There's a lot of like location shooting that looks really gorgeous here. Colors really pop. This is definitely like a bright, colorful movie, despite being sort of like a gangster heist movie. Again, it's sort of like a cartoon. It's a little bit like The Mask in how it's kind of zany, but here there's like I'll give you an example real quick. Like there's like a vicious murder, and then there's like a sight gag a couple beats later.
Yeah.
So it gives you kind of an idea of like just how weird and off kilter this movie is, but I love it.
Awesome. Yeah, this one's been like notorious, like lingering in my mind of like I need to watch this, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. But now is going to be the time.
Yeah, I would be very curious to see what you think. So we'll have to table that and
Yeah. Yeah. Moving on, I have a final pair of releases. I not almost perfectly. I feel like I've been going like further back in time throughout, and now I'm ending with a pair of silent era titles. So both of these are silent films that I want to talk about. First off, I want to talk about a Kino Classics and Milestone Cinematheque release of, let me get this right, South, the Ernest Shackleton and the Endurance Expedition. South. Yeah. So this is interesting. It's a documentary. This was it's a film of the 1914 to 1916 expedition that Ernest Shackleton took with a group of men to basically explore Antarctica, because at that time it was largely unexplored. So he took a ship up there, but within a pretty short time frame, his ship got stuck, and like he was breaking through some ice, but like it's so cold up there that ice freezes pretty quickly. So his ship got stuck in like this ice, and but him and a small group of his men had to like make a trek for survival, to like get back to like civilization through like this long expanse. And this is a documentary of that, like that whole experience of them like setting off. You get to see like them preparing, like loading on all of these like sled dogs and guide dogs. Like there's like a bunch of like old school footage, like all this old school footage of like these puppies and like these crates, and some of them are a little bit silly. It's one of my favorite parts of the film. But then you just see like all these different like shots of like crew life with like the typical silent film interstitials, which are like giving you context to like what is going on, how the voyage or the expedition is progressing, and all in like really interesting like tinted, like color tinted photography that looks really nice, especially since this has been given a new 2K restoration by the British Film Institute, who always does like a really meticulous job with their restorations, which you really have to appreciate. So this is like one of like the oldest documentaries I've seen before, since it did come out, I believe in 1919 is when this finally came out. But it's nonetheless powerful, just seeing how like actually having footage from this era, the early 1900s, of them like trying to survey this land that's like seemed inhospitable at the time, of just like what is up there, and just like seeing them go on this expedition is really fascinating to me. So yeah, it looks really great. It sounds like, I would say it sounds great. It's a silent movie, but the new score that is composed for this, it sounds really nice. Both of the releases I'm talking about had new scores composed for them, which is often the case for old silent films, because a lot of those original recordings just do not exist anymore. So you have to have like new scores that kind of fit thematically with these. So there's also a lot of like good special features. There's a commentary track from a film historian that was recorded in 2002. There's also various different other featurettes like that show different additional footage that's not included in the documentary and all that, and just different small featurettes that are really nice. So South, Ernest Shackleton and the Endurance Expedition, it's a really fascinating piece of film history. And like for silent film fans, silent documentary fans, it's like seems like a holy grail. Continuing a different kind of silent film, a more traditional narrative, and that is a release from Cine Museum, and that is The Roundup with Fatty Arbuckle, which this is almost like a pretty much perfect release. The only thing I will say, I had this complaint with another NBD related release previously. This is in DVD size packaging, and it includes both the DVD and a Blu-ray, but you know, I want that Blu-ray packaging. So get this DVD and Blu-ray in here. You get a nice booklet here, and you get like some different you get some like context to the film over here, which is nice. So that's like an extra boon for physical media. But also, this isn't the type of movie you're gonna like normally find on streaming unless you're like on Canopy or something, like a library focused streaming platform. But this one, I believe this is from 1920. Yes, 1920. It's like I said, Fatty Arbuckle, and this is kind of like a Western tale of like Fatty Arbuckle plays a sheriff, and there's like a lot of the plots is not super important, but it involves like thieves like in gangs and like good guys getting themselves into like bad situations and like love triangles, and it's a pretty like standard Western like drama, but like with a lot of good comedic elements through Fatty Arbuckle's like both physical demeanor and like his kind of like slapsticky type things. I really enjoyed the movie. It's like a pretty breezy watch. I think it's like 70 something minutes if I'm not mistaken. Usually these silent films are pretty short, but they also include two early, like even older short films from Fatty Arbuckle, which are about 6 or 7 minutes each. I think from like 1913 and 1914. So that's like another good additional point for this. And the Roundup comes from a new 4K restoration from the 35 millimeter material that has been provided by Paramount Archives and the Library of Congress. So that's been restored. And then also the two other shorts have been given to, I think, 2K restorations. So both of these, the two original shorts and the Roundup itself, have been like really given like a nice revitalization for disc. So once again, both of these for classic film fans are like a must almost. But like, yes, Fatty Arbuckle, I haven't seen a lot from him, but like I was very entertained by this. So classic film fans, this is a good one.
Yeah, both sound really interesting. Like the documentary, when you were describing it, it sounded like Nanook.
Oh yeah, Nanook of the
kind of
North.
like in that. Yeah, which I really like. So I think I would definitely want to check that out as well. And my final title is one that is another one that I've been so excited for, and that is In Bruges in 4K. And this is great. Have you seen this? You've seen this probably before,
Several
right?
times, yeah.
So there is the back, and the slipcover. And so this does have a Blu-ray as well. Sometimes they just have the 4K, but this is a dual format, so y'all know. And yeah, this was a really fun rewatch. I had seen this before, but it has been a while, and whoa boy, I forgot just how dark this movie is. Like bitterly dark and very funny though. Like if you are easily upset about things happening to children, you should probably not watch this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's pretty great. It's just it's one of those that it's less about really the plot and more just about the characters and the character journey, which I really like. And Ken and Ray are kind of a great duo. The latter of which is played to the hilt by Colin Farrell, and he is like the most sleaziest, skeeziest character, but he has this charm. It's funny when I was like taking my notes for this. It's like impish comes to mind, right? Like
Yeah.
he is like he can say the most offensive things, but then it'll be like tee, you know,
Yeah.
like he could
Absolutely.
get a like at least I wouldn't be able to get away with stuff like that. But like somebody like Colin Farrell, like he could do that. But yeah, it's a really I don't it I it's not a fun movie, but it is a really funny, rewarding movie. Like there are things that I really like how like Ray's character is so cocky and headstrong and like but I was gonna say I'm trying to think of if saying this is a spoiler or not about like the assassination gone wrong.
Oh yeah. I just leave it at that.
Yeah, so there's an assassination that goes wrong, and there's some collateral damage, I would just say. And this is like a really pivotal, not only plot point, of course, but like just how much it like shakes this character to his core. And it's pretty remarkable because this is a character that just seems so like blasé and aloof and too cool for school. And again, it's just a testament to how great the direction is, but also how just great of an actor he is, and everybody is in this. And the color grading has been approved by the cinematographer, which is great. I know we always love when they do that. It looks fantastic, like Bruges. A lot of the locales and stuff just look stunning in this, just like absolutely crystal clear, and it just really again immerses you into this movie. And again, I mean, it's just stunning how great it looks. And I mean, this isn't an old movie, but it is almost like 20 years old, just kind of crazy. It makes me feel really old.
Yeah.
But I love it. We do get some nice features. I believe they were all ported over from previous releases, but they're all here. And I love like give me a good gag reel, blooper reel. I love those. I think like that and commentary tracks are like my all-time favorite. So yeah, it's really spectacular. I don't want to give away a lot of the plot, but it is just so good. I mean, like I said, it's more about characters and just really being on this like journey with them, even when you don't want to be sometimes.
Yeah, I'm a big Martin McDonough fan, so yeah, I'm glad this one's getting a 4K release because I just actually rewatched it again last year, but I'm totally down to rewatch it again in 4K.
Yeah, he has a new movie.
The
Uh,
Banshees of Inisherin.
yes, which I know somebody at GVN just covered.
Yes, our colleague Brandon Lewis, like him and like two of our other colleagues, just took the Toronto International Film Festival by storm. So like there's a lot of great coverage for a lot of the big movies this fall up on geekvibesnation.com if anyone wants to check that out. But he gave this like his new movie like a 9 out of 10. He said it's amazing. So I'm very excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like with a track record like that, I know I've seen like his other films. I think he did like Three Billboards.
Yes, which I love.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was so yeah, it was funny how like he doesn't have a huge filmography, but what he has done is pretty stellar. So yeah, this is great. It's never looked better. You should definitely pick it up. You know, get that slipcover, get it early.
Yeah. Yes. And so yeah, I think we had a lot of great releases this week, and yeah.
Um, yeah, I think we definitely did have a nice wide variety. We didn't have any sexy titles though. We had this streak of
Fatty Arbuckle, not sexy enough for you.
okay, touche.
Yeah.
I know that will bring in the multitude of maybe I'll just do like the thumbnail just that is
Yeah.
some spicy clickbait. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I before we go, I just wanted to mention again that we have a giveaway, and it is the Munsters on Blu Ray. Thanks to Universal. Huge shout out to them again. This is an awesome release. I like the movie, and you can win it. All you need to do is just comment below and say what title we talked about you're most excited for, that you're looking forward to, or like, you know, or yeah, whatnot. I don't know. I'll trim that later. But yeah, it's great. So check it out. It's very easy to win. Like I said, just comment and you could have this very copy of your very own. Wow. So as always, definitely consider like, subscribing, again, commenting will enter you to win that movie. And as always, thanks for hanging out with us.